All right, Georgia and Alabama, SEC championship. Georgia, 5-point favorites, 55 the total in this game, down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. So Georgia, they lose this game, they're almost assuredly still in the playoff. They're the one team probably that can get in with one loss as a non-conference champion. But not that they're going to want to take their chances, but I'm pretty sure they'd still get in. Alabama has to win, to guarantee that they get in, or to have a really good chance to get in, I should say. There's no question about that. But it would be hard to keep out a one-loss SEC champion like Alabama if they are able to get the win. But I don't think Georgia's going to rest on their laurels. And I think Georgia, believe it or not, has had a tough time in the SEC championship game against Alabama. And I'm reading some stuff that they're hell bent on trying to finally beat Alabama, because Georgia's kind of beaten them in the national championship. But if you look at the recent SEC championship games when these two teams have played each other, Alabama's actually gotten the better of Georgia. So I think if you're Georgia, you're coming into this saying, no more of this. We're going to finally take care of business here in the SEC championship against Alabama. I mean, you look at the last year in the SEC championship game, it was 41-24 Alabama. Bryce Young went wild, huge day throwing the football against this Georgia defense. So that was but Georgia got him back, obviously, in the national championship, winning 33-18 that was a couple of years ago that happened. So I think Georgia remembers, a few years ago, we lost to this team in the SEC championship game. And we got him back in the national championship. We won the even bigger game in the end. But, to me, it'd be hard for me to go against Georgia. And I think they're rightful favorites here in this game. And Alabama, too, is having to just grit and just grind their way to that survival in the Iron Bowl last week, 27-24. Whereas Georgia, you could tell Georgia's already got their eye toward this game, because against Georgia Tech, it was kind of go through the motions. They were kind of some of their starters, both sides of the ball, offense, defense, either didn't play or didn't get the full amount of snaps. Brock Bowers didn't even play last week for Georgia against Georgia Tech.
The final was a little bit closer, too.
Yeah.
They scored 10, in the fourth. I think it was 31-13, and they scored 10. Yeah.
10 unanswered. So it was a get-in, get-out game for Kirby Smart. Actually, looking back on it, I probably should have maybe considered Georgia Tech there a little bit more, because I figured.
But they had gotten whipped a little bit lately.
Yeah.
Against, in years past, that game would always be good. But the last 10 years, man.
Yeah, Georgia whipped them. So that's what ended up, you're right, keeping me off that. But nevertheless, I do think Georgia's the better of these two teams, not only this season, but right now, based on the way they're playing. Carson Beck in the offense coming around. We know what they can do on defense. Yeah, Jalen Milroe, to his credit, he has gotten so much better now compared to early in the season, but navigating his way against this Georgia defense for the first time, by the way, as a starting quarterback. Hasn't faced Georgia. This will be his first time since he's become the number one quarterback here at Alabama. Let's see how he fares. I don't know if I bet the game, but it's probably Georgia or nothing for me. What do you think here, Conor? SEC championship.
Yeah, I wanted to look back here real quick. One thing that Auburn had success. We knew that game would be not every year, but at home. We talked last week how Auburn's going to be, especially off getting their ass kicked. And I said they had to do it. And Thorne still had a couple interceptions, but they ran it. He ran it well. The running backs, they had a ton of yards against Alabama. Alabama's run defense has to be better. If they get gashed, Georgia will take it to them. This Georgia defense is good. It's just, I've talked all year, they've had the easiest schedule all year long. And they beat up who they've had to. I do think they're better, but Bama's in this. They survived. They got the win, so this is tough, because looking back, I think Alabama could be in this game. And you're right. In the past games here, SEC championships, they've took it to them. And I think they're thinking of that. I think this game also, I don't know about the total, because Georgia's defense comes to play. This stays under, but I don't know. This total's here at what, 55? Let me double check here. What do we have on this total?
Yeah, it's right around currently
56.
55.5. Yeah, 55.
Yeah, 55.5, 56. So I don't know. This looking at this last night, this is, I wanted to wait on this game. There's a couple of games I want to sit with, through the week where we go on this Monday where I just jump and make a bet on. I already have on a couple of these games. I'm going to wait a little bit. I don't know if Milroe can make the plays when it's come down to it, but he's gotten a lot better. Like you were talking about earlier, Babano, but I don't know if I trust him. I think a motivated Georgia could win by a touchdown here for sure.
Yeah, 2018, 2021. We basically saw these two teams meet up in the SEC championship game. Kirby versus, obviously, Nick Saban. 35-28 for Alabama in 2018, and then the 41-24 last year. Both of them went over the total, 63 and 65 total points in those games. So I lean over. I don't know if I love it because, this is not that same. I don't think the quarterback play for Alabama is as good, this year as those 2 years. They had Bryce Young last year or last year in the SEC championship game. And then in 2018 with the 35-28 Alabama win, that was Tua Tagovailoa, who was the quarterback that year for Alabama. And right now I Jalen Milroe's not either of those guys, at least not yet. Bryce Young or Tua. Going against this Georgia team. So, yeah, those two off games in the SEC title went over the total, but Tua and Bryce Young, 2018 and 2021 in those two games. And then in the national championship game, it was 33-18 Georgia 2 years ago, and that game ended up staying under the total. But, yeah, I like lean Georgia, lean over still, but I like Georgia a little bit more than the total here in this.